Oh, hi there. What's this slop I'm eating right here? It looks like a pie, but I don't think it is. It has strawberries in it anyway. And it helps prevent scurvy. Want to know why I would be worried about scurvy in this day and age? Well, let me tell you.
Cutthroat Island, a game that I remembered relatively from my childhood. But time wasn't so kind to my brain and whatnot. It completely forgot about this game. And then I'm like searching through stuff at the local Gray Whale, and then I see this thing for like $3.99, and I think, man, that's the exact same game that I played when I was a kid! And yeah, it turns out it totally was. This game with this golden text that says Cutthroat Island, and it has this guy and it has this girl on the illustration. Yeah, totally. One thing I remembered about it was that there was this runaway carriage level that I could never beat for whatever reason. And one thing that I didn't remember was that it was so cartoony looking, which completely clashes in contrast to the illustration portrayed here. Also, the fact that it was tits hard. But maybe the tits hardness explains the very reason that I couldn't beat that runaway carriage level. So I will pop this game in, this sucker, this baby in. And we will see why I label it as tits hard.
Here we have the magnificently glorious intro to our game, Cutthroat Island. A story about piracy and treasure. But nobody really cares about that kind of thing, so they just typically skip it. So we have our obligatory slow scrolling text here, and Morgan's hair blowing in the wind. And seeing these type of graphics on screen, you think, man, it couldn't possibly be that bad. Once we get into it, well, I'm sorry to say, it's not actually a game for everyone. It has a lot of variety, but that's kind of about it. It also has a very cartoony looking style, despite what you actually see in the intro. In the intro, you see a sort of cartoony style, but also being kind of realistic, and like they actually put a decent amount of effort into it. And they did. They did put a decent amount of effort into it. You can see like all the hair follicles and everything.
Personally, I thought the game was A-okay. But then again, I was a child back when I first played it, so you know, what you gonna do? Hopefully that doesn't affect your validation of my opinion in any way, shape, or form. Also, I hopefully don't sound like I'm coming off a little bit biased because I beat the game. Now, you know, this next little tidbit of information is probably going to deter and possibly perturb you. It was an Acclaim game. You heard me right. This game was made by Acclaim. Acclaim is a company that has been known to produce many supposedly shovelware and questionable quality games. And I think it falls into the latter category. Ever since people came onto the interwebs, such as Irate Gamer and AVGN, many people have not been able to formulate their own opinion. They go with what AVGN or Irate Gamer say, and they say, well, they blow Acclaim and LJN out of proportion. They're not like, you know, they don't make all of their games 100% of the suck. Here's my theory. Back in those days, you made a movie. So what were you going to do then? You wanted it to branch out onto other forms of media, such as video games. So what were you going to do? You handed over your license over to Acclaim or LJN because you were too lazy, or you didn't have the brainpower, or you didn't have the knowledge, or any of the above, or all of the above, or any combination of the above. You couldn't do it. You had to rely on some other company to produce your game for you. You just hoped, you prayed to God that Acclaim or LJN wouldn't make the game completely suck eggs. Or maybe you handed the project over to both of them, God forbid. What we got here from Acclaim wasn't exactly, you know, the best thing since sliced bread and butter. It wasn't NASCAR Crash Beautiful, but it did not scrape the bottom of the mud-encrusted, sludge-trodden barrel or anything of the sort. It was alright anyways. It was solid enough. It had a decent amount of variety and some challenge. Challenge being something that's lacking in many video games these days. So, all I shall say is, let's move on to the options. Quote-unquote options.
You head into your supposed options screen to see what the heck you can adjust. And what the heck is this? You get sword fighting and brawling, fighting styles. Sword fighting is on by default, but if you choose brawling, well, get ready for one heck of a stupid time. In ways, brawling is actually more beneficial than the sword fighting. But here's the thing about the sword fighting. The sword fighting is nigh pointless as an addition to the game. Why keep the sword in their hand if they're going to brawl? Why can you do everything else with the sword except your first two punches? Why even have the option? It makes no sense. But other than that though, I would suggest just keeping it on sword fighting, since that's what separates this from most other beat-em-ups, right? The fact that it uses weapons, like Golden Axe. Alright, so you've made your choice on what kind of quote-unquote style of fighting you're going to do. Now we just want to start the game. Now we have to make the most hair-raising decision of our lives, choosing Morgan or Shaw. And on two-player mode, we don't even get that choice. But, digressing from the point, Morgan is more agile and acrobatic, and Shaw is kind of slower, but he's better at fighting. He doesn't jump as high, but you know what? Get used to Morgan first, I suggest, and then play Shaw in the future. So let's start this thing. Well, to start things off, you'll probably notice that you have a brevity of abilities available to you. Unfortunately, many of them are nigh useless at this point, and are probably going to be for most of the game. It's nice that Acclaim tried to bring you this kind of variety into it, movesets and whatnot, but guess what? It ain't gonna do you much good at all. If I don't wish to explain the controls that thoroughly, you'll understand why. There are times in the game where you'll try to mash a button and you won't do jack. It just won't pull off what you're trying to do. I have no idea why. It does it at certain times. In effect, this provides kind of a very cheap challenge. It's not a fair challenge, and it's not a legit challenge, but it is definitely a challenge you must overcome if you wish to survive Cutthroat Island. It's probably blasphemous to say so, but you gotta think of this like Final Fight sometimes. One interesting thing I thought is that you can double jump. The momentum will still carry you, but if you do one regular jump in no particular direction at all, and then you can jump left or right after that, or continue to jump straight up. This is useful in later levels, such as platforming levels. As of right now, it's just a fancy effect that has no real bearing whatsoever.
And I found this out by sheer fluke, alright? Found this out by sheer fluke. You hold down the down button, and then you hit the jump button, and your character will crouch. How awesome is that? It's amazing. From there, you can pull off a whole new set of moves.
Hell, man, you can even throw your enemies in 4 different directions.
Oh, but oh no, sonny boy. This isn't just a beat 'em up. This is a beat 'em up platformer. Yes, yes.
/ Donkey Kong minecart level. I'm dead serious here. You get one whole level starting on the very second level of minecart action. You can't jump. None of that bullcrap. No, you gotta memorize the pattern and you gotta move up and down, and that is it. There are some enemies that you can run over in a string, but you have to dodge the rocks, the trees, and the big muscle men with hammers.
And those muscle men can come to be some of the worst enemies that you will face over your journey into Cutthroat Island. There are also even worse enemies than that, if you can believe it. Yes, there are. But for now, you should just worry about those big muscle men with the hammers. They're actually not too bad. I mean, you just keep a safe distance from them, and you're okay. You see them trying to throw their hammer back to hit your face in? Well then, get the heck away. What the hell are you doing? Or just slash them before they do that to you. Not that hard, right?
Speaking of toughy enemies to face, that warden that you face in the first level makes a reappearance at least 2 more times. Why do I speak of the warden that you face on the first level after the French guards? Well, I'll tell you what. He backflips all over the place. He punches at you. And what do you have? You have to hit him at least once and then he'll do that crap. Maybe you'll find some strategy in blocking, but other than that, it's probably going to be a long fight for you. Your only strategy is to perhaps crouch, as I said in my fluke, and poke at him. Riveting, right? Yes. Pokey pokey! But if you're lucky, the programming will allow him to get stuck on the wall as you just try and pummel him with your attacks as he just continually backflips into it like a moron. He'll block a lot, but you will always be able to hit him without getting hurt. Nice AI, right? Here's where things start getting just that little bit tricky. 3rd level. You can move into doorways, or you can move into doorways. And make up your mind, because all you will see here are enemies, items, and doorways. You will always find at least one item in every doorway, but only one doorway has the boss. Ahaha. Here's something I have to point out.
Lives. That's all I can say. Lives. As in my life, your life. Everyone's life. Oh, okay, maybe not. Video game lives. Those handy little things that you lose before you have to use up a continue. But here's a little thing about Cutthroat Island. There are no continues! But D, you might ask. How the hell am I supposed to beat Cutthroat Island if I can't even have one single continue? Well, here's the thing about that. If you have to earn your continues, sonny boy. And you earn your continues within every 30,000 points on a string of 3 lives. You heard me right. Or at least more than that, possibly. Maybe even less. But the point is you have to be on the same string of lives. 30,000 points. Think you're up to the task? Because in Cutthroat Island terms, that's a lot. The enemies you kill, the items you collect, they don't really add up to squat. And the biggest bonus that you're going to possibly have to your score total at the end of every level are your lives. 1,000 points each. get used to it. Save those lives, conserve those lives, and you'll be A-okay in the long run. The problem? Everything that the enemies do, everything that you do that is a mistake, your lives will be reduced, diminished. They will be gone, zapped, finito. Just try to maintain those lives and you'll see how hard it is. I'm dead serious here. Pat yourself on the back if you're actually able to do that. For at least 2 continues, possibly the max, considering the amount of stupid crap that you'll run into in this game.
Rant aside, who else to fight you for the 3rd level boss? Why, Snellgrave, of course. Oh, and some other random git. I don't know who the heck he is, but yeah. Not the easiest person in the world, but as long as you brute force him, he may not be able to attack. 4th level is the Carriage level I happened to die at when I was a kid. Never made it farther than that. Here's the trick to the Carriage level, alright? You walk down as far as you can go, you crouch, and that's it. You poke at any enemies coming at you, but you'll dodge all of the cannonballs, all of the poles sticking out of the wall, everything. Just poke at the enemies, and you'll make it through the entire thing 100%. You may not get 100% accuracy, because the thing's a load of bunk, but other than that, you'll make it through the whole thing. Alright? It's just awesomeness. Awesome sauce. 5th level, Warden's back. Just poke him off. Ain't nobody gonna know, forget about it. 6th level, a mutiny back on your ship. Crazy, right? Yeah. Almost every human enemy you can think of, including the drunkard with bad breath and the big muscle man with a hammer. But it's your traditional beat 'em up. You'll make it through A-okay. So, on to the 7th level.
Oh, you better believe it, man. It's kind of like a beat 'em up, alright? Just like the previous level. But it's not. It's not. You go through and you jump over quicksand. And you better get your rapid Mario Party finger ready on that C button, that jump button, man, because you're gonna sink in that quicksand. And you gotta jump out. It's like the quicksand that you see in those movies. Quicksand, where you just fall down really fast. Never mind how quicksand is in real life, where you could apparently just lay on your back. It's just like sand with tons of water around it. No! It's like a quicksand in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Crazy, man.
The jungle. And I gotta say, this level is actually pretty diverse for any kind of platformer. And I mean, they do provide large trees that you can climb up to using vines, but they're pretty out of the way, and sometimes, if you can just simply memorize the level, you'll make it through fine. It's probably a given that you will die a few times memorizing the stuff in this game, but don't think yours truly hasn't died quite a few times trying to memorize things for this review. I had to definitely go through this game multiple times before I completely beat it. And even then, I still didn't get all the treasure chests. But the treasure chests, something for another day. But I almost got all of them down. Don't tell anyone. 7th level, the cliffs. Piece of cake. That is if you got it completely memorized, like I do. Otherwise, get ready to die, pulling off some stupid mistakes. You are going to totally, completely miss jump stuff. Here's how the level works. You hold down to crouch next to any vine that you see jutting out from the edge of a cliff face. And you'll go down, and you'll climb up or down the vine. And you hold on to the left or right button, and you jump. And you'll jump in that direction, and you hold on to up for the next vine. if you can come in contact with another vine and you'll automatically grab that. Same applies to ropes in the next level too. The level's not too hard to get down. I think this level was innovative, all around. But if you thought there was even a bit of coolness to the 7th level, the 8th level ups the ante on that even more. It switches between, although it doesn't perfectly switch between it, but it makes use of the beat-em-up aspect, and it incorporates platforming. So I thought this level was just freaking awesome, even though it's so dang hard for beginners. It is definitely not beginner-friendly, surely. Also, since I am playing the Genesis version, I have to say, Acclaim was probably the most lazy on the porting of this entire level. You'll see it later on, especially with the spikes coming out of the wall. The wall will come and it will block the rope with a bar of black, because the bar of black wasn't transparent. Amateurish. And you're on your own here if you think I'm going to say anything more about this cave level. This level is just the awesome sauce of the entire game, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But I will say, you gotta see this little rope segment.
Absolute craziness. This level makes my day in life, I swear to God. For any beat 'em up, take hints from this game. Don't overlook it. It's so cartoony looking, but it is just cool.
Ah, another cliff level. Second verse, same as the first. What's the difference in this one? Well, you drop down a hole and you don't die. You go into a boss fight. Defies the laws of gravity and logic. But you know, that's what's cool about it. It's supposed to be a video game. And you know it. And then this French guy challenges you to, well, a fight. With his pet Jaguar of all things. Dude, this was like the 1600s or the, I don't know, but how? Dude, how can he, like... Are the Frenchmen supposed to be that fancy? How can they tame a Jaguar? How can it be his pet? I don't know, but he's not like the other Frenchmen either. He is a toughie to beat. But you'll get him down no time. Hopefully you conserved those continues, because you're going to need them for this level and the next level. 9th or 10th level, I totally lost track, but you know what? Who cares? It's the final level, so let's just say that. You walk right, and holy crap, the same enemies that you fought before? Gravy! But then you get two new guys to fight, and they're kind of like spinning tops. Kinda cool and kinda cartoony looking at the same time, once more. So, I suggest you poke those guys to death. Just like, you guessed it, the Warden, that comes up right after that, again. But hopefully you walk over to the right and you pick up the health restoration and the treasure. So it's the Warden, and it's finally, you can go over to the left, into the cabin, for the final confrontation with... Dog. Yes, Dog. Dog is apparently not too hard. I just came in there all swashbuckling with Morgan, and she beat him in like really no time flat. I think I probably lost like 1 life. Thank goodness I had been saving those continues. Guess what? Totally beat the game. I didn't have all the treasure chests, but I beat the game. My final verdict: graphics, very cartoony, but they work. The sound and music, the sound being Sega Genesis wise, it's not as annoying as the Super Nintendo when you would hit a person and they would grunt. They would grunt every time in a high pitch. Why even do that? Some weird blocky sound effect for hitting the enemies, I'm okay with. It's not as grating. The music, Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo, the music is like just like the soundtrack, and you can thank John Debney for that one. John Debney for doing the soundtrack to the actual Cutthroat Island movie that the game was based off of. If it weren't for that, who knows how the music would have really been. But the music, how it is now, it is atmospheric, ambient, and definitely fits in with its pirate theme. So whoever the composer is, good job to them. I'm going to have to probably look over the credits again to see who the composer was, because this music is kind of a bit overlooked, I think. But then stuff like Ninja Warriors is overlooked. I'll probably get into that another day. Oh, and controls. Kind of unresponsive at times, but at other times there is a wide variety to the controls, and you can do just about anything you kind of wish. Rockin' in that aspect. Overall, just a solid game, but not the greatest, but it's very, very solid.
That's been it for this review. And I gotta say, it left me with a great sense of satisfaction beating the game. And I hope that you will have that same sense of satisfaction beating it yourself. Possibly even owning the game. Because there are always all those same-ish kind of beat-em-ups out there like Final Fight. And it gets kind of boring. I would happen to like some dang variety in my games like this more often. Xbox Live Arcade? Take the concept. Look at it. Or maybe you have. Maybe there's something I myself have overlooked in my online gaming. This has been Shining Treasure. I'm D. And, well, I don't have a slogan yet. I don't know if I will. So, you know, screw this slogan. Enjoy the game. Try it. Do it. Okay, well, don't do it that way. But, do it game-wise. Ish. Ish not being in that sense. You get what I mean.